Today is a very special day. We are having a Student Startup and Innovation Summit organized by LX. On the dais we have Srimati Anju Sharma, Principal Secretary of Higher and Technical Education of Government of Gujarat, Dr. Ravi Gupta, we have Vice Chancellor of GTU, Professor Shade. We also have dignitaries from different ministries of Government of India, Government of Gujarat, Government of Rajasthan, and some other states in the audience. And today this summit is going to be a very important as well as a game changer in my opinion, for a variety of reasons. On one side, we have been always talking about demographic advantage for our nation, more than 50% of the population being young out of 1.25 billion population. And on the other side, I was just reading the newspaper reports, especially Indian Express a couple of days back, said that the number of jobs in the large corporate world are decreasing. There are big challenges ahead because of whether it is Internet of Things, because of automation that is being followed by the industry. Number of jobs in large companies are either stagnant or likely to be reduced. But however, there is a big scope for variety of new types of jobs in our country, both formal as well as informal. And that is where a summit of this nature, where both innovation as well as startup is going to be celebrated. I'm given to understand that there are a large number of awards to be given for the best startups from all over the country. And this celebration is important on this particular occasion. As I said, reason being, the startups are the only ones who are going to create new jobs in this country in all forms. And that's why encouraging startups is a very, very important and key thing to be followed by all of us. And in particular, when several missions were announced by the Government of India, starting from whether it is Swachh Bharat Mission, whether it is Make in India, Skill India, Digital India, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, and finally the Startup India, Stand Up India, we find all of them are interconnected with each other, and we need to develop our skill sets in order to produce new startups in this country, and that is the important thing. So since January 2016, when the startup mission was launched, all departments have some scheme or the other for encouraging the startups, whether it is Niti Aayog, whether it is Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology, you name, every department of the government in some form or the other is encouraging innovation, is encouraging startup. The policies may be formed at the governmental level, at the apex bodies, including that of AICTE. AICTE itself had its own startup policy enunciated on the lines of the policy of the Government of India. And on November the 16th, during the visitors conference from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, former Rashtrapati ji, Shri Mukherjee launched this scheme from the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The significant thing about this policy was, we said that there are more than 10,000 odd technical institutions in the country, and amongst all the institutions, including arts, commerce, science, we want the entrepreneurship development to take place everywhere, but technical education can play a very significant role, because most of the jobs that are going to be created will be in the domain of technical side. And that's why AICTE needed a policy which was enunciated on November the 16th last year. What are the key elements of this policy? The policy framework looks after what is known as our academic institutions, where there is a big change which is desired. Because all these 70 years, our curricula have been going on in a totally academic fashion, mostly theoretical subjects, very less of experimentation, very less of hands-on work, very less of actual internship for the students in the industry. And such theoretical engineers, while may be useful in some design offices, to create jobs, I think this is not going to work. So there are multiple things which were required. So one of the things was academic curriculum needed to be completely revised, and that action has already started or begun. In the policy, we thought there must be enough opportunity for a student who is taking education in any field or domain, and we talked about technical education in that particular scheme, whether it is engineering, whether it is architecture, whether it is a polytechnic education, whether it is pharmacy, whether it is management education. There must be enough scope for development of entrepreneurs of tomorrow. How is it possible? UGC itself had also announced what is known as CBCS, Choice-Based Credit System. It has been announced a year and a half ago, and students have been permitted to take elective subjects from other than their core domain of education itself. How do we leverage this was one of the significant factors in this particular policy which we enunciated. We said that any student who is taking up education, whether it is, as I said, engineering, architecture, pharmacy, along with all the courses that he is required to do normally to complete the degree program, why not have some 4 to 5 electives which are in the domain of entrepreneurship? For example, any entrepreneurship starts with some idea converted into a process or a product. So how ideas are generated, how innovation system can be supported, a course on innovation, a course on how do we convert an idea into a system or a product, how one can do market survey in advance to see whether there is any feasibility of this product being successful in the market, how we attract funding, whether it is from the governmental agencies, loans from the bank, whether it is from angel investors, how do we get this funding, and how to manage the organization. Because the startup is something like a small company, and therefore whether it is 5 people, 10 people, 25 people, how do we manage human resources? How do you select those people? How do you engage them? How do you keep them with you? Because many people will come for some time and then go out. So how do you motivate those young people who have joined a startup to continue into that organization? I think this is not possible by merely theoretical courses, and therefore how this can be brought into the curriculum in a practical sense. So that is what this policy enunciated all about. And one important thing which every educational institution, whether it is university or a college, needs to have such type of courses floated in their organization. And some kind of support will come from certainly AICT in terms of organizing workshops, seminars, educating people. And most important thing which is required to be done is our faculty members and our parents. Parents of students as well as teachers in the educational institutions, their mindset change is also another very important factor which we have to look at. In my experience as a faculty member, as well as a head of an institution for about 9 years in Pune, I found that most faculty members do not value such kind of activities undertaken by students. I have had umpteen examples when students come up with some idea and tell their professors, because their first interaction would be in the college, the faculty member. And when they tell the faculty member that I have such an idea, I want to pursue this, can you help me or should I do it? The first thing which the teacher normally tells is, you are come here in an educational institution, your program is of 4-year duration, you must first complete that, get good marks, good grades, and forget about all that, and that we will see later. This is the first sentence a student listens from a faculty member. And that is the first demotivation which begins actually. And therefore, this policy enunciates a complete paradigm shift in terms of first training our teachers themselves, of giving importance to what is known as startups and entrepreneurship. Because as I said, the number of jobs in large-scale industries as well as medium and small-scale industries is not increasing. In fact, they are either stagnant or slightly reducing. And therefore, the only way ahead is to have these startups. And unless educational institutions are not prepared for that, I don't think there is any future for us. And that's why training of our principals and directors and vice chancellors of the universities, as well as faculty members in the new way of thinking is also equally important, and that is another initiative which AICT would undertake as a part of this policy initiative. As far as curricula is concerned, as I said, there is already enough scope in terms of choice-based credit system to offer electives on these subjects. But why can't we have a course which is a dual degree course? You know, there can be a degree in, say, BTech in mechanical engineering or computer engineering or electronics engineering, and along with that, a minor in entrepreneurship, minor in startup. These are possibilities which our academic councils, senates have to adopt. At the level of the UGC or AICT, it can enunciate the policies that this is permissible, because many a times we also find that many institutions who would like to do this, they are feeling that probably whether UGC will approve it or not, whether AICT will approve such programs or not. And therefore, the policy initiative from organization like AICTE, which is a regulator, is that this is permissible. This is a statement of purpose which AICTE will enunciate. But ultimately, implementation of that happens from the universities and the colleges. And that's why all those vice chancellors, heads of the departments, heads of the institutions who are sitting here, my earnest request to all of them is, take this as an agenda on your academic bodies. If you are an autonomous institution, you can do it in your, whatever the nomenclature of the organization, whether it is Senate, whether it is called as Academic Council. Please take up this matter for discussion. Look at the policy that is enunciated and see how it can be implemented in your respective organizations. And this is a starting point. And I'm sure in many organizations, we have now Professor Ramanan, who has come from Niti Aayog. He's also one of the great supporters for incubation and entrepreneurship. And unless all of us work together, whether it is Department of Science and Technology, Niti Aayog, AICT, UGC, Department of Biotechnology, we come together and threadbare discuss the challenges and opportunities that are existing, I think there is no way ahead. While saying all this, as I said, in the institutions, we do not have faculty who have such capabilities existing, because they would have done probably masters and PhDs, MPhils, and would be faculty members in the organizations. And they themselves have never tasted entrepreneurship, they never have seen entrepreneurship. And therefore, there are multiple ways which we can do in order to encourage them to come forward and help our student bodies. First and foremost is, every academic institution has a very long vacation in the summer. After the examinations are over, somewhere around April and May, June, July, May, June, July, overlapping May middle to about July middle, there are no activities in the academic institutions. And most of the teachers are free. Why can't they be sent to industry during this period for 2 months to understand how industry functions? Students also could be sent during this two and a half months period to the industry for doing internship. So faculty internship, student internships, both are equally important. And while these internships need not be only in large scale industries, because the number of people who can be accommodated there may not be large. So we need to expand our base and send students and faculty even to small scale and medium scale, micro, medium and small scale industries. So there is a lot of scope in learning many activities there. In fact, my personal experience is, if you go to a large industry, you may be attached to one department of the industry and you will learn only some segment of that. It is like the story of the elephant and the blind man. And if you ask what is an elephant, different blind men will tell different things. You know, only someone sees the trunk, someone sees the legs, someone sees the ears. So if someone goes for an internship in a large body, probably that is what happens. On the other hand, there is a big scope if we go for internship to small and medium scale industries. And there are a huge number of startups emanating these days from our institutions. And internship can be done in the startups themselves also. So in fact, there is a great learning, because you will see right from how do you convert an idea into a product, to how do we receive funding, how do you do market survey. As I said, these can be part of the curriculum as courses, but also practical hands-on learning happens if one goes into medium and small scale industries or the startups. So let us encourage our students, our faculty members to effectively make use of their 2 months vacation to go to these places, understand the nuances of this and come back and then learn the theory behind that as well. So we will have a complementary attitude of learning theory as well as practice, and that is how during the stay in an institution, whether it is 3-year program, 4-year program, 5-year program, you will be in a position to start thinking about certain areas where you can start the startups. Another very important thing about going for internships, not only to industries, is our definition of internship is very broad-based. Even a student going to a village during his 2 months vacation, going to a slum and working and studying what is happening there, also gives him a lot of ideas and opportunities that he can implement after he completes his graduation. And that's why internship does not mean that it should be done in large-scale industries. It could be in small-scale industries. It could be in a rural area during his vacation. Go and find out what are the challenges that the rural folk are facing. We are so privileged to have all facilities in the cities. There could be problem of water. So how do we have a small startup on water harvesting itself? How can we create a startup on developing solar and wind energy in a rural area, make it power free, a lot of power being generated over there itself and don't depend on the grid. I think these challenges are possible if you go and observe. So one important thing which all educational institutions have to start following is, what I said is the internships. And then secondly, encouraging students to take up any activity of their choice other than their core discipline of the subject which they are studying. And this is another very important thing. All of you are aware of the Three Idiots movie. All the 3 people who joined there in different disciplines of engineering, either because of the force of the parents or because of the peer pressure, are having hardly any interest in that discipline or domain. But if they are given an opportunity, one can become a great painter or a photographer, anything is possible. So I think along with what is being taught in the colleges, there must be an opportunity for taking some subjects which are of his choice. And that is where he gets inspired and motivated. By the way, this particular hall, its name is also Inspiration. I think I was wondering whether innovation and startup initiative, okay, let's start from a hall which is also named after inspiration. So we need to inspire our students in order to take a variety of things which will empower them during their stay in the educational institutions and transform themselves into true leaders of developing new type of activities. Now, there are 2 types of challenges that we face while doing this. As I said, teachers is one part. The second part is our parents and the society at large. When someone says that, I want to have my own startup, the first reflection from the parents is, why don't you appear in a placement? And even if you get 4 lakh, 5 lakh, job, annual package, that is good enough. But whereas they discourage them from taking up these startups. So probably we also need to have some engagement with our parents as well. And every college has an opportunity, because we can't do it in the large scale like this, that calling all the parents in one location and then giving them the doses of what is known as entrepreneurship, how it is important for the country and for themselves. It is very easily done by a university or the college, because in some sense, right now, all parents visit the college or the university 2 times. First, when they are inducted into the college, there is an induction program. On that day, most of the parents are physically present in the organization. And lastly, on the day of convocation or graduation ceremony, again parents visit the college or the university. In between 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, there is no interaction between the parents and the students, and the institution themselves. I think this is a new culture which we may have to do it. Why not have, of course in the schools we have every weekly parents-teachers interaction. We may not do that at regular intervals of 1 week, but why not 1 day in a year we have a parent-institution interaction day. and all the parents may be invited on a convenient day, maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, and then tell about the national need requirement and how your children can really play a transformational role in our country. I think this is very important and significant, and if we start this in some university, other universities also will pick up. I was very amazed that institute in Amritsar, College of Engineering in Amritsar, does have this kind of a action where they invite parents every semester once and then talk to them about various issues. It may not be about the attendance of the students alone, but it is about how we can transform their wards, their children into entrepreneurs. I think this is a very important new step which we may have to undertake in the years to come. We have, as I said, different varieties of possibilities that exist. On one side, if the jobs are reducing or not, I was just looking at the recent survey by Ernst & Young, and they said that about 9% of the jobs are going to be in the domains which are not known today. That means the type of jobs that are going to emerge in 9% of the jobs would be in the areas, those areas themselves are not known to us today. What are those areas? We do not know. And then there are about 37% of the areas where there is a radical change required, and that is slightly known today. For example, as we say, Internet of Things, whether it is cloud computing, whether it is big data, whether it is data analytics, whether it is robotics, these areas are visibly changing rapidly at every year and every month. And therefore, we need to train our students in the changing areas, and those who are already employed may have to start getting themselves trained in these new areas in order to remain active, in order to be useful. And so there are 37% of the areas where we need to have the retraining of our workforce. They may be already employed, but they need to understand these new technologies, and then they remain relevant. Otherwise they become irrelevant, and that is why many industries will start laying them off. And therefore, if you are not to be laid off and continue to be relevant in these 37% of the jobs, you need to have retraining of our workforce. The 9% of the workforce which I said is going to be in the areas which is not known today. I don't know what is going to come in the future. And like Alvin Toffler said, future shock. So this shock is not known to us. What is that shock going to be? So one other thing which our educational institutions need to do is training of our students to learn by themselves. Learning by oneself is also an important trait which we have to develop in our students. So learning to learn should be one of the subjects, and how it is to be done could be in a variety of ways. Students could be asked to study something either from a research journal paper, whether from an innovation, whether from a new startup which is emanating. Go and study something on your own and come and give seminar on that subject and share that with all others. Now there are multiple advantages. When we talk about employability, we say that students are not aware of learning by themselves. They are not adaptable. But here is a point where a student, if he is asked to learn on his own, he becomes automatically adaptable. He is adapting to the change that is happening. So he will be in a position to learn something on his own, come back and communicate. And another skill set which all the industries today talk about is communication skills. A student then in that case would be in a position to come back and then communicate with his peers. And the multiple advantages, student will be able to communicate is one part of the story. The second part of the story is, if there are some 30 students in that group, each one brings something new to the table, what he has learned something new from different place, and all 30 students will learn that. So without effort, 29 other students will be learning what the other student has learned on his own. So one is, a student is in a position to communicate. The second is all 30 students learn something new every semester. I think that's a great way of learning on their own. So this is very important. And this will also engage them in asking questions to the other students, thereby the ability of questioning, ability of knowing how to work on a particular project will also be learned by them. And if all of them together decide on a project, I'm sure that working in teams is also possible. That is another trait which industry keeps talking about, that our people are very good individually, but when it comes to working in teams, they are very poor. So these 30 students can take up a big challenge which they have found out of their study and then start working on that as a big project. I'm sure that working in teams is also possible, looking at new technologies is possible, learning by themselves is possible, and for this certain kind of facilitation that is required is to be provided by our faculty members, who themselves also are then challenged. When students are learning something new and coming up and then going to talk about that in the classroom, faculty is also naturally forced to look at the internet and find out what are those areas, what is happening in that area, and then come and prepared. And if the discussion is going haywire, they will have to bring it on to track. Therefore, they will also be required to be learning by themselves. So learning is not just for students, learning is also required for the teachers, and which will become a sort of a habit. When this becomes a habit, what all we talk about innovation will be a natural corollary of that. You don't have to really do something new for innovation. When new things will start being learned by students and faculty members, innovations start happening. And these innovations can then spin off what is known as entrepreneurial possibilities and startups. So I think there is a full ecosystem which can be developed by way of converting an idea into a product right at the inception from the colleges themselves. Two other elements which I would like to reflect here is alumni and industry. And these two elements are also equally important for our educational institutions, because it's only not the teachers and the principal and the head of the department and the students who are important in an institution, but connecting with the industry and connecting with the alumni of the institution is very, very important. Industry is important, as we know that we want to know what is happening in the industry and bring that to the table. So one possibility which AICT in its policy itself has announced is whatever student-faculty ratio is desired as per the norms, out of that 20% faculty could be hired from industry as adjunct faculty. That means you don't look for their degrees of whether they have a master's degree, PhD degree or postdoctoral degree. That is all for academicians. For formal 80% faculty may be from all these domains with that kind of background of MTech, PhD, MSc, PhD and so on. But as far as your industry personnel are concerned, even if he has just a graduate degree and has put in more than 15-20 years in an industry, has done a lot of innovation there, some new design, he should bring to the table in the educational institution design thinking, practicability of a problem, how it can be engaged, and that is very, very significant, and we want to encourage our industry personnel to come forward. So there are two ways of doing it. One is the faculty from engineering have to hunt for that. Have to look for the industry. And so when a faculty goes to the industry for internship, they may locate one or two persons from that industry who are useful. Many times what happens is someone is very good, but he may not be able to express. So expressiveness is also important. So pick up right kind of people and bring them to the classrooms. I'm sure that students will be greatly benefited. And this could be sort of co-teaching in every course. Every course has some theory part of it and some practical and industry application oriented part of it. Maybe if it is a 3-credit course, which means 3 lecture hours per week, let 2 lecture hours per week be taken by the teacher who is a regular faculty member of the institution, and 1 lecture hour per week be taken by our friend from industry who comes there and gives all practical applications related with that. And it has 2 advantages. Many a times industry people know by doing, mostly by sometimes hook and crook, by somehow trial and error methods. And he would have forgotten what was the theory behind that. By sitting in the class, industry person also knows, oh, I was doing the right thing, but what was the background, what is the mathematical basis, physics basis for that, I had forgotten, so he will be able to understand that. And our faculty members also get understood about what is the practical ability and practicability of that. For adjunct faculty coming to the institutions, so again it has multiple beneficial effects. As I said, students in the classroom will learn about industry practices and practical aspects of that particular technology. But more important after the class are when the regular teacher and the faculty from industry, adjunct faculty sit together for a cup of tea. There will be informal chat and discussion during which many industry problems would be noted. They can be offered as projects for our undergraduate students in their final year. There can be mini projects on every course. So students will start getting engaged in not only learning something new, but also how they can apply their theory knowledge to practice. So that is how there will be huge change that is going to happen as far as adjunct faculty is concerned. We can continue this effort in terms of our alumni as well. But many a times what happens is when we want to have courses on entrepreneurship, and these entrepreneurship courses to be taught by faculty who have done PhD in entrepreneurship, probably they will fail in really translating what is necessary for students. Because they have never done themselves, only they know theory behind that. And therefore, if we rope in our alumni of that institution naturally have some good opinion about their own institution. So they would always love to come back to the institution. It is like homecoming. जैसे लड़कियों को मायके में जाने से मजा आता है, वैसे ही alumni को अपने कॉलेज में वापस आने में मजा आता है. तो उनको यदि आप बुलाना शुरू करेंगे, तो I am sure that they will be excited about it. And most of the institutions are not unfortunately connected with alumni. And the first thing which every institution has to do is identify, since its existence, right from when the institution started, maybe in the 1960s, 80s, 90s, 2000, after about 10 to 15 years, I'm sure that the alumni of the institution would have gone into industry. Some of them, after a few years, they would have become entrepreneurs. And if you rope them in and say that entrepreneurship course has to be entirely handled by them, maybe our faculty will only sit into that class. And if you do that for the next 5 years, our faculty will also learn about entrepreneurship. And the alumni who have gone through all difficult times, they will bring the real experience of entrepreneurship to the institutional students. Because when we say that startups have to be encouraged, entrepreneurship has to be encouraged, many a times we all talk about only rosy picture. But we must also understand that it is not a cakewalk. It is not full of roses, but it is full of thorns. There are a huge number of challenges which an entrepreneur has to undergo to become successful in about 3, 4, 5 years time. There are, testing times. Many a times there is an impression that no, I have done a wrong thing, I want to quit. And many people also quit. Not all startups are successful. So when we take the courses on entrepreneurship, our alumni who have been successful have to tell stories of failures. And despite failures, how I continued. There was a second failure, third failure, but I didn't leave. And I finally became successful. I think those stories have to be brought to the classroom. So students are fully aware that it is not a cakewalk. There are lots of challenges. There is a lot of hard work involved. But I am committed. I am sure that I will be able to do successfully. I think that is what is required to be trained to our students. So I think, as I said, 2, 3 important things. Mindset change for our students, mindset change for our parents, mindset change for our faculty members. All these are very important. And there are different government organizations, as I said, DST, Niti Aayog, Biotechnology Department, DIT, all have different variety of support systems for entrepreneurship, maybe whether it is starting of incubators, and there are also possibility of courses. And AICT on its part has a grant portal called as Swayam. On that Swayam also a huge number of courses for skill development, for entrepreneurship will be floated. So ability to learn on one's own is a not distant possibility, it is a physical possibility which exists today. We must all make use of that phenomenon. And very important thing which we started last year, AICT, was the Smart India Hackathon. And the first edition of that itself was a grand success, with 29 government departments participating, more than 598 problem statements, in 26 different places, non-stop, 36 hours our students participated and found solutions. Out of that, we have filtered and found 50 solutions are immediately employable. They are being tweaked and the different ministries are adopting them for the betterment of the society and helpful to the society. And this year the hackathon is going to be much larger. Last year it was a great effort to get 29 government departments on board was a big challenge for us. So this time, on one shot, when we announced it, 50 government departments and ministries have come forward on their own. Not only that, 22 state governments have come forward, and I am happy that Gujarat state government has started its own initiative of a hackathon, and this will be a chain which will merge into the national stream, and the challenges which the state governments are facing, the industry is facing, can be solved by our young students. Their problem solving ability will also improve in the process. And this year it is going to be another new version, that is, there will be a hardware hackathon also. It is not just digital solutions, software solutions, mobile application, the real development of product would also be there. Just like Big Boss, we would like our students to be in one institution for full 5 days and come with an innovative idea, make use of all the workshop facilities that are there and convert that into a product prototype and then carry forward to the nation as a startup. I think there are immense opportunities. We have our Honorable Minister with us, and I think it's a great day. LX has started this great initiative of encouraging the startups. We should take forward this as a model and take forward to the entire nation. I'm sure that Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India would definitely be successful in our country. Thank you very much.